Welcome back to the Unstuck Movement. As always, I'm your host, Rob Z. We bring incredible people on this platform who have true testimonies of breakthrough. Today, we're going to talk resilience, discipline, mental fitness, personal reinvention, the battle-tested mindset, and also how to grow post-trauma. And this is a powerful, powerful episode. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. Rob Wheeler's with us. And Rob, I want to kick this thing off with a powerful question right up front. I love talking resiliency because in life, personally and professionally, we need to be resilient. It is essential to our growth and essential to success. So what are some daily practices, some daily tools, routines that people can use to build resilience in their daily lives?
First of all, thank you for having me, and such a great question. So you have to find, first of all, what works for you, because whatever works for you, that's what you're going to be able to stick with long term. I think a lot of times we get so mixed up in all these things we have available to us that it kind of hinders our progress. But the three main pillars, I guess, in my life, which is also in my coaching to build resilience, it's fitness first. Fitness is a non-negotiable in my life. I truly believe at 48 years old that I'm stronger, better, bigger, faster than I ever was in my 20s. And that's going to give me that resilience training, because we know working out's hard. We know eating right is hard. And you have to do the hard things to be successful. And then after that, mindset. So practicing gratitude is huge in my life. Positive affirmations or sayings that help me get out of that negative mindset. And then basically just the discipline. You have to keep working on yourself every day. I tell people all the time, I didn't heal from my trauma. The trauma's still there. The mental health issues is still there. But I stack more good days than bad days. And that's the overall purpose when you're trying to live a life of peace and purpose and passion.
I absolutely agree and absolutely love that. And I'll tell you, fitness being first is essential, man, because it is, if you can point to one thing that can help solve a lot of issues in our lives, and of course it's not going to fix everything, but it can help with everything, is having a solid continuous fitness routine. It impacts so many different areas, and fitness looks different for everybody. Some people might not be able to lift heavy weights, but you are able to walk, you're able to run, you're able to bike ride, there's a million different ways, take jujitsu, martial arts. There's so many different things you can do, and they are all so beneficial for our minds. And so I love that. Great advice. Really, really solid to kick things off. Before we go any further, I want to welcome everybody here. This is the Unstuck Movement. This platform was created because I've been stuck in many different places in my life, and I found breakthrough. And I love telling stories of breakthrough. So I find incredible people who have powered through, who have found that breakthrough that changed their life. I bring them on the show so you can see real, true examples of breakthrough for yourself, so you know it's possible for you. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 500 heart-centered entrepreneurs serving each other all over the world. And also brought to you by the Pro Podcaster Academy. If you have a podcast and you want to streamline it, monetize it, or if you're somebody who's been thinking about starting a podcast to build your brand, be the go-to authority in your space, make a lasting impact in people's lives, I would love to help you along that journey. You can join the Pro Podcaster Academy at robzwentz.com. Rob Wheeler with us today is a Navy veteran and former federal police officer who founded BattleFitted to help people transform pain into purpose. As a coach, speaker, and podcast host, he empowers others to build resilience through fitness, mindset, and disciplined living. So let's go back in time, Rob. Obviously, the mess became your message that you're sharing with us now and that you share with thousands of people. Where were you at where you were stuck? Talk about that unstuck journey, the breakthroughs that you needed to have to get yourself to where you are today.
Definitely. So I joined the Navy in 1997, ended up getting out in 2007 due to injury. My first duty station was pretty rough. I always tell people, and they don't believe me, but I attribute it to actually being in prison because I was on a small ship. No job, no purpose, just stuck on this ship with nothing but a bunch of dudes. They didn't have integrated females at the time on the ship. And the biggest guy was the bully. And, I remember getting pulled out of my rack and thrown on a table and the crap kicked out of me multiple times and threats. And it was a real world scary place. So it was even to the point where at 21 years old, I remember calling my dad on the pier of a payphone in Jacksonville, Florida, and he lived in California at the time, and crying and telling my father, Dad, I want to come home. I can't do this. And the scariest but greatest thing he ever said to me was, I love you, son, but you can't come home. Click. And he hung up that phone. And that put me in that real world perspective of, oh, crap, I guess no one's coming to save you. I have to do this on my own. So I kind of fought through adversity. Then September 11th happened. I deployed to Iraq. Luckily, I didn't see combat, but I was deployed to like hostile areas where air quality, life stuff wasn't real good. Faced a little more trauma. And the thing that some of veterans and myself are fighting for, when you get out, there's nothing. The day you leave service, whether you retire, whether you get out due to injury, whether you get out because you choose, overnight, your identity is gone. Your community is gone. Your medical benefits is gone. Like everything and no one checks on you. No one in the military reaches out a month later. Hey, do you have a job? Are you okay? It's just abandon you. They take all your life, your soul, essentially, and then you're abandoned. So most people in the military, when they get out, they do what they did in the military. It's just an easier transition. So I was a military police officer in the later half of my career. I became a cop. But because I didn't heal with my trauma as a cop, I just stacked more trauma and more trauma and more trauma. And a lot of police officers, a lot of veterans, a lot of first responders, they do this because we think we're meant to bottle this up inside and not talk about it and not show emotion because we'll lose our job or our marriage or whatever. And that's, furthest from the truth. So that's what I'm really advocating for these days. And in 2018, my mom had passed, and I decided that I didn't want to be in this negative space anymore. My coworkers were miserable. The clients that I dealt with were miserable, always seeing bad, never seeing good, never being thanked for the job that you do. I got out and I decided to open a strength and conditioning gym. And that's where I really leaned into fitness, leaned into strength training, strength and conditioning. But then I lost that due to COVID. And that caused a little more depression, a little more hurt and pain because I thought, man, this is my purpose. And all it did was, at the time, I needed work. My wife's like, what are we going to do? So she says, why don't you go back to being a cop? Now, my wife, not really knowing the hidden battles that was going on inside of me, to the extent that it was, I said, okay. So I went and got state certified in Florida. I became a police officer. Everything came back. Negative place of work, negative people. Saw a young man kill himself second day on the job and had to deal with that and process the scene. And so I remember after being there for 4 months, I came home, and as I walked through the door, I was just bawling. And, my wife's asking me, of course, what's wrong? I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I know you need support. As a husband, as a man, as a father, I have to help you, but I can't do this. Like, it's just not realistic at 46 to continue down this path of negativity. And she said, okay, I understand. I don't know what we're going to do, which is a huge leap of faith, but go ahead and quit. Next day I went in and spoke to my starter and said, look, I appreciate the opportunity, but I can't do this. I left law enforcement officially. And after a couple months, the common denominator was my members, my former gym members that I would see out in town all the time. They would say to me, like, no one ever coached us like you did. No one ever spoke to us like you did. No one ever led us like you did. Like, we need more coaches like you. I realized that I didn't need a building to help people, that I literally could reach anybody in the world through my coaching, through my podcast, through my merchandise. And that's officially when BattleFitted was launched of January this year. And I still was depressed. I was still frustrated. I was still angry. And I had to figure something out. So initially, the first thing that got me unstuck, I didn't have a big aha moment. I didn't have an epiphany. I didn't go to jail or anything crazy. But I saw someone talking about gratitude, and I doubted that. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, how can for something works? And that was just my negativity speaking. So that night, I thought of 3 things I was grateful for. I did that over and over and over again. It's been over a year now. Every morning when I woke up, I was like, okay, it's going to be a good day, because I figured instead of waking up every day and say, F my life, life sucks, what if I just switch that? And even if I have to say it's going to be a good day 5,000 times a day, every day, something's got to change. And it did. And I eventually got out of that very negative, dark place. Now I still have bad days. Things still upset me or bug me once in a while. But once again, I stack more good days than bad. And that's the key.
I love that, Rob. That's so good. And this is interesting, isn't it? Because I'm curious your opinion on this, because when you first start doing gratitude and you start telling yourself today is a great day, I mean, you're basically, in my head, when I was doing this, I would be like telling myself to shut up, and I'd be like getting annoyed. I'd be getting agitated and irritated that I kept trying to be positive in my head. It's like I was fighting against myself. Did you experience that as you were starting off on that?
So, the problem that I've seen, even in like my research and everything I do, when you operate in the negative, like all the time, like literally all day, every day, it affects your kids, your marriage, your coworkers. My wife was tired of me essentially, bitching and complaining. And it's not because I wanted to, I didn't have control. I didn't have emotional regulation. I didn't have control over my feelings. I was in that space for so long. So it's always hard to get out of that space. Like, good habits or bad habits, if you're doing them over and over and over again, it takes forever to get out of that. And, I'm still learning every day, but yes, same thing, definitely, in my head being like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? But I knew nothing was working and I had to do something else. I've been to therapy. I've been on medication. And I needed to get out of that dark spot, because it just wasn't serving me any purpose or helping anything. So I just kept with it, and I just still keep with it now today.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you come to a point of, oh, okay, this is how I talk to myself. This is how I think all the time. So that sort of bleeds out into the rest of your life, and everybody's affected by it. And if you're in that cycle, and the same with you, man. I was around a lot of people growing up they weren't intentional, number one, and there was a lot of negativity, or maybe like apathy, maybe is a better word, and you just assume that's how life is. You assume that's how people are, so you just think that way. So thinking any other way doesn't make any sense to you. And when you start to break free from that, when you start to change and choose to do things differently, boy, man, there's so much resistance that comes along with that. So I just want to number one, applaud you just for making the choice, because I always love to think you never know who you're impacting. You never know whose life you might be changing by the way that you're acting, what your attitude is, but you know that you're impacting the people closest to you. So your family, your wife, your kids, like changing that and showing them that change is possible is so powerful, because most people never change.
Definitely. And I think the problem is that I've found out, or I am finding out, when we have trauma or mental health issues or a different kind of mindset, that limiting beliefs, we're scared, right? It's that fear of, oh, if I go into this space, if I start talking about this or thinking about this, things are going to be worse. And what I found out, like when it comes to fear in your life, if you just jump and take that leap of faith, when you get in that darkness, you're like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. Oh my God, I can actually deal with this. Like this is okay. And unless you want to be stuck all the time, you have to go into that darkness. You have to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. That's the only way to progress. And I think people it's that fear that like, oh, someone's going to judge me, or I'm not going to like who I become, or whatever, that stops them from just jumping in head first and saying, okay, I got to deal with this.
Yeah. And boy, when you resist something for such a long time and you finally dive in and you're like, oh, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It gives you momentum. You got to choose that momentum every day, right? There's that choosing on a regular basis, because it's going to come up again. That resistance will come up again. I used to think this to myself. I'm like, okay, so I did this once or twice or 5 or 10 times. Why am I still getting this resistance? And that is part of the battle. That is part of the war that you go at with yourself, using the resistance My mentor explained it like this. As you're constantly pushing against that resistance over and over and over again, eventually the resistance switches and comes around behind you and builds momentum. And now you're momented forward. So you no longer feel the resistance. You're actually propelled by it. And so my prayer for anybody who's going through this process is keep going, because you will build momentum and it will change things. So how did it start to change things in your life?
Well, I like what you said about a prayer. I think the serenity prayer, as simple as it is, it's huge, right? Control the things you can't and not worry about the things you can't. Because when you put your energy in things that you can control, that starts to build that emotional regulation. And that's the key point with anybody that has trauma or mental health issues. You have to regulate your emotions, right? So I was the kind of guy that if someone cut me off, I would chase you, flip you off, maybe cut you off. If you got my personal space, I might push you or be rude to you. If you messed up my order, I would not treat the wait staff with kindness. And it wasn't that I was a nasty or a bad person. I just didn't know how to control my emotions. I didn't realize why I was mad. I was on autopilot the whole time, letting my emotions dictate everything. And then I realized, oh crap, like if I can control my emotions, things really aren't that bad. And I'll give you an example. So when I met my first wife in 2017, I was supposed to go from South Florida, where I live, to Tampa, about a 3-hour drive with my kids to see my parents for Christmas. And I lost my wallet. And old Rob, I threw what I call an adult temper tantrum. I yelled, I screamed, I threw some things, I punched the wall. And, this is the first time my wife, we've been married for 1 year now, but together for 8, that it threw up a red flag. And she's like, oh crap, can I be with this guy? Because this is like scary, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up getting my wallet back. It was at Publix, not a big deal. So fast forward all the way to 2025, probably 2-3 months ago, we were on date night. We were in Cheesecake Factory having a nice dinner, left my wallet in the restaurant, didn't even realize it. And we get in the house. I'm like, babe, I think I left my wallet at the restaurant. And she you could see her prepare for the, oh crap moment where I'm going to go into monster mode.
Yeah.
And she started freaking out. She's like, oh my God, we got to call them. We got to go get it. I'm like, look, I'll deal with it in a second. It's not a big deal. Everything can be replaced. It's not worth getting mad over. And in like a cartoon, her jaw literally hit the floor, right? And she's like, where's my husband? And I'm like, it's just not that big of a deal anymore. If I get cut off, if it doesn't cause me an accident, it's not that big of a deal anymore. If someone gets in my personal space, as long as they can say, excuse me, or I'm sorry, even if they don't, it's not that big of a deal anymore. You have to put your energy into the things that matter: building a business, improving your life, improving your marriage, improving your relationship with your kids. That's the things that matter. It's just a waste of time and energy at the end of the day dealing with little nonsensical things.
100%, man. 100%. And it's easy to do. It's easy not to do. It's easy to get mad, right? It's easy to blow your gasket. Yep. And you have to be very mindful, especially in moments. I've noticed for me, moments of being tired, that's when I'm weakest.
Definitely.
Stressed, weak. That's another spot. So you have to be aware of okay, I'm already feeling kind of off. And if you're feeling kind of off, I always look at treating myself with kid gloves on. I'm like, all right, man, just take it easy right now. Take a little bit, take a breather, whatever you need to do, because you're kind of teetering on the edge, and you know what happens when you go to the edge. Nothing good happens, and you regret it. People around you regret it. So it's such good advice, because those pauses, being able to put those pauses in on a regular basis, change things. I want to go back a second ago, actually a little bit ago. You mentioned earlier about how you coached and led people, and whenever you were doing your training, and people would say to you about how you coached and led them. What was it about how you coached and led that was different, that they'd never experienced before?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I always lead with my heart. I've always had a service mindset. I believe, I used to be the guy that when I went through all this stress and heck, I would freak out, and I would be the guy from a religious standpoint. I would say, God, why me? Why me? Why me? And then I started thinking objectively and wow, I wonder if God's just putting me through this, not to make me suffer, but to allow me to help other people and be a mouthpiece for other people. And I think with the gym and the training, I just always meet people where they're at, right? Like as a trainer, a lot of times some trainers, a bad trainer, oh, go pick up this heavy weight and squat it. And someone's like, I can't. And it's like, there's no can't, you just do it. And I wasn't that kind of guy. So most of my clientele were, I would say, later adults, 30s, all the way up to even 60. And when someone came in and said to me, like, hey, I'm not going to squat, I'm not going to do this, I wouldn't force them. I'd be like, okay, I would just all about mindset, like the psychology of getting in their head and showing them that they can from a perspective of, okay, sit on this bench. Now stand up. Now just sit on the bench. Now stand up. Do that 20 times. And then, the next week or 2 weeks, okay, now do it with a pair of dumbbells. Okay, now do it body weight, no bench. Now use just the bar. And before they knew it, I literally had people crying because they had that limiting belief that they couldn't squat or deadlift, and they were doing it with weight and more weight than they expected. And it was just about meeting them where they were at and having that compassion over that. Military, being a cop gave me some strong leadership skills and values, but I was always compassionate, even as a cop, very compassionate, very respectful, meet people where they're at and listen over making them do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great attitude to have. And it can be really hard. I would imagine. I'd never been in the military or a police officer. And I also want to say thank you for your service in both regards, because I can't imagine how difficult the job of a police officer is. I mean, that's a nonstop high stress job that is very thankless. And I'm sure that anybody you come in contact with is not excited to see you because you're coming at maybe their worst moments. So I just thank you for that, man, that you put the time in to serve in that way. And we're going to take a break real quick to shout out the sponsor of the show. I want to parlay that into this platform that you've created, because I want to learn more about it, because I love the concept behind it. It's called BattleFitted. Obviously, if you're watching, you can see the website there, battlefittedbrand.com. But I want to know, what does it mean to be fit for battle? And how did your life prepare you to create this platform to help people? We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Rob, powerful conversation. I love your story. I love the BattleFitted brand. What does it mean to be fit for battle?
It just basically means I essentially took everything that I've been through as a divorced dad after 17 years, as a father, as a husband to another relationship, as a veteran police officer. And I realized that, essentially life is a battlefield. You have to go to war within yourself, right? Everything has to be done with intent and purpose. And you have to look at it from an inside out perspective, not an outside in perspective. So I just wanted to create tools, resources, clothing, my podcast, everything surrounded around that battle of life. And my goal is to make people battle hardened, so to speak. So when they deal with these traumas, these emotional issues, the relationship issues, whatever they're going with, because everybody has a hard life. Like, we all just deal with things differently, but we all have some sort of trauma. We all have some sort of, mental health issue. It may not be as strong as what mine is or what I went through, but I'm just giving people the tools to realize that you can have a purposeful life. And I became very self-aware of my time on this earth. And I was like, man, like, why am I going to be miserable all the time? Like, why am I going to be angry all the time? Why am I not going to chase my goals, my hopes, my dreams, and just go after it? And if I can teach people to do that, then that's a beautiful thing.
It really is. It's a powerful thing. How were you able to overcome? I mean, lots of people go into the military. Lots of people are police officers. I imagine that there's so many different things, like you said, like throughout the day, lots of like mini traumas that happen. How have you learned to deal with that stuff? The PTSD, the anxiety that comes along with that. I would, like you said, I imagine it's more intense for you than it is for normal civilians living in the United States. So what do you think made you able to cope with those things?
Like I said before, I want to preface this with my trauma didn't go away. My depression didn't go away. My PTSD didn't go away. I still have bad days. I think everybody has bad days every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But when I have a bad day, I don't freak out or flip out or throw an adult temper tantrum like I used to. I like what you said earlier about being able to pause. I mean, literally, if I feel like myself is getting upset, whether it's in a store or whether it's while driving, I mean, as long as you're safe wherever you're at, you can literally take a break off to the side and do some breathing techniques and say, hey, am I really upset over this? Or you can pull off to the side of the road. Or for me, primarily the gym has always been instrumental in my life as soon as I got out of the military, because, I'm a disabled veteran. I'm 90% disabled. I have multiple injuries from my time of service. But I know for a fact, and people think like this is crazy, if I didn't work out, if I didn't do strength and conditioning, if I didn't try to do jujitsu, if I didn't do all the things that I love to do as a fitness professional, I would literally succumb to my injuries. I wouldn't be able to go upstairs. I wouldn't be able to chase my son. I wouldn't be able to do anything. So fitness is like, if I'm a car, fitness is doing maintenance on my engine so I can continue to drive that car and move. And so, with that, you have to find what works for you. It's a whole holistic approach. You can't just do one thing. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to go get in shape. No, you have to have the healthy eating. There's studies that, how we eat helps our gut health, helps our brain health, helps our mood. Then, you have to practice some sort of mindset. It doesn't necessarily have to be journaling, but maybe have a positive affirmation. You have to decide to have the discipline to keep up with it. And it's just literally taking the things that you want in life. So when I grew up with my father, he didn't say, I love you. I never heard him say, I love you once until the day I joined the military. Now that he's older, yes, he says, I love you quite often. But when I had kids, I had to decide, okay, that's not going to work for me. So I decided that I'm going to tuck my kids in. I'm going to tell them that I love them. I'm going to make sure that I give them all the time and attention that they need. And to the point that even when I have my 13-year-old son every other weekend, when I have him, if I can put off business or put off meetings, he comes first. I'm always going to be able to have clients. I'm always going to be able to make money. I'm always going to be able to work on business. But I'm not always going to have time with my son. So it's prioritizing what's really important to you and then going after that and doing that over and over. I'll end this part with this. So Jocko Willink is a famous Navy SEAL. He's been around for a long time. He always says, choose your hard. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we know being angry and frustrated and an emotional wreck is hard. We know that being happy, being calm, and being kind is hard. So you have to choose your hard. What's the hard that's more beneficial to you? Being happy, kind, and loving, or being angry, mean, and horrible? So choose your hard.
Yeah, both are hard. I always, that makes me think of the quote, and I've said it many times on the podcast. One of my favorite quotes: would you rather have the pain of discipline or the pain of regret?
Right.
The pain of discipline hurts right now, pays off huge in the long run. The pain of regret feels good right now, but really hurts you in the long run. Right. And that's the two things that you're talking about. And you have to choose between those two pains. And it's so easy to pick the immediate pain. It's so easy to just do whatever feels like the good, easy, passive thing to do right now, instead of being disciplined in what you need to do to grow into the person. And that goes along with vision, right? So I want to talk about vision and how did that change over your life? Because growing up, I would never. Vision was a Marvel character. That's the only Vision I ever heard of. Like nobody ever talked about Vision to me. And so it's I found it very difficult to construct a vision for my life. But when I did, I was like, okay, this is so helpful because now I know what I want because I know where I'm going. And if I know where I'm going, then it makes it easy to choose the right things. Did you develop a vision for your life of what you wanted to look like, who you wanted to be? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so definitely. So a couple things that like I talk on or teach about. I think one, you have to make goals that are actually attainable, right? You can have big lofty goals, and I'll get into that in a minute, but the idea to help your mindset, your mood, to show you that you're making progress is make realistic goals. So if I want to say I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 2 months, that's a very realistic goal. I set time on that goal because I said 2 months. Then you start to reverse engineer everything. Like, okay, so how am I going to lose 10 pounds? I'm going to do 10,000 steps a day. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to cut out all sugars from my diet. When you start like actually writing down, and Andy Frisella, another famous guy that I highly look up to, he talks about this all the time about writing your stuff down, and not just writing it down like I'm going to lose 10 pounds. No, you have to have that intent and that passion and that purpose. Write it down with intent, reverse engineer how you're going to get there, put it somewhere where you can see it every day, and just keep working to that goal and be 1% better every day. And then you can get there. So for me, I'm always making smart, measurable goals, something that I can attain and win because I want to win. I don't want to lose. And then I always have what I call the BFG, the big flipping goal. And for me, my big flipping goal is my business is potentially able to be scaled to $3 million a year. I essentially want to be the veteran Tony Robbins. I want to get paid very well to speak on stages across the world. I want people to want to read my books. I want people to want to use my resources. And the only difference is as I grow, as I get bigger, as I get more notoriety, I'm still going to have time for the little people, and not even the little people. But if someone messages me and says, hey, I need help, I'm not going to just block them or say, oh, buy my coaching program. No, I'm going to try to have an open conversation with them and give them some of my time, because I think that's important. And I even find now with my podcast, as I'm trying to book bigger guests, it's very few and far between that they actually answer a message or an email and say, hey, I'd like to learn more, or I'll consider it. It's usually just dead silence. And I think that's really frustrating for people that want to maybe align with the person they love or follow or whatever. And I'll use Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as an example. I've had a huge bromance for him. I dream of the day that he's like my best friend and we're acting in movies together and I'm the new Kevin Hart or whatever. But the one thing I respect about him, beyond his work ethic, beyond him being a dad to his daughters, he always takes the time to greet his fans. He always takes the time to sign autographs. He always takes the time, if someone sends him something and it means something to them, he'll say, hey, look, this is what somebody sent me, and I appreciate that. And I think that speaks volumes to the content of his character.
Yeah, and it's easy. I mean, you only know once you know once you're there, what capacity you have to be able to connect with people. But like you said, we can lose sight of our humanity and why we're doing what we're doing. And just to know, and it is an amazing and incredible, what an incredible gift to get to a point where people are searching you, reaching out to you because they want to be like you and they need to change their life. And to be able to leave the space in your life to be able to do something like that is really important. To leave room to help people, to serve people, to give up your time because you would have died for somebody to do that for you when you were in their spot, right? And so there's so much power to that, and I love that, man. I mean, that is such a goal to have, such a vision to have, to be successful, to be impacting lives, but have that space in your life to still, make room, like you said, for somebody who might message you or see you in public, that you're going to take the time to, impact them. And at the same time with The Rock, because I do love when The Rock makes those videos and stuff. I wonder how many times he does that without making the videos, because that's the impact that's real. It's really, I think about that all the time. You see online so much people they record their acts of kindness, they record their volunteering, they record their giving. And I always, my hope is that, okay, they recorded it once, hopefully they're doing that 10, 20, 30, 40 times without a camera being there, because that's the real difference maker. And especially in the society that we live in, where we feel like everything has to be documented, everything's content, I think it dilutes our humanity. We don't need to document everything. Not everything has to be on camera. Not everything has to be content for people to consume, because that's where real life actually happens. You know?
I mean, that's the definition of integrity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a great, let's bring this thing full circle around to integrity. When you were younger, what did integrity mean to you, and what does it mean to you now? Or was it even a thought? Because I never thought about integrity for a long time.
Younger, it wasn't really a thought. I'm sure my father, without saying, hey, this is integrity, he showed it in me, as far as like when he coached me in sports events, or he played basketball with me, or showed me how to, change oil in a car, or change a flat tire. And we have these little father-son talks about how you're supposed to act in society. And that's the one thing I can say, as hard as my father is, I never seen him treat anybody out in public with disrespect. I never saw him cuss anybody out in public. I never saw him, as far as I remember, like ever fight with anybody. Like he has a lot of anger and emotional issues, but he took that out in our household, not like out in society. So, integrity for me now is obviously doing what's right when nobody's looking. And I tell my son this all the time. Like if I tell him to clean his room, or I tell him to pay attention to detail with something that he's doing, is that if you can get in that habit, that healthy habit of just doing what's right when nobody's looking, it's going to become instilled in your life. And the Navy Corps values is honor, courage, and commitment. And when I did my 10 years in the Navy, I really adopted that into my life. That helped me have integrity. So I'm the kind of guy that I will always put the shopping cart back. I don't care how far the cart return is. That's a really huge pet peeve of mine. I'm the kind of guy that will always hold doors open for people, even if they're, a couple feet away, and I could just easily let the door close. I always say, please, thank you, excuse me, sir, madam. I think we need more people in society doing these things, and it's not even hard. You just do it. It's like, It's not nothing that really, it doesn't take any time away from you. It doesn't take any money away from you. It just makes you a better person. And if more people would adopt this sense of purpose as far as how we act in society, I think the world would be a lot better place.
Yeah. And honestly, those random acts of kindness, I mean, you have no idea who you're near, who you're around, the person you could be impacting. So you have no idea that some random act of kindness, even if the selfish results will come from it. Positive selfish results will come from random acts of kindness, because you have no clue who you could be helping. You have no clue the impact you could leave on somebody, and you don't know who that person is and how that ripple effect from that can happen. And it's just so it's so valuable. It, like you said, it's so easy to do. You mentioned the shopping cart. So there's a shopping cart theory. I don't know if you've ever heard the shopping cart theory.
Of course. So once again, Andy Frisella is the one that when I started listening to him, he was talking about putting the shopping cart back.
Yeah.
And it was funny because yesterday I actually happened to be at Walmart, and a lady was waiting for my parking space. So I told my son, I'm like, run the cart to the corral. And he didn't. And he comes to the car, I rolled down the window. I'm like, what are you doing? Go put the cart back. And I didn't wait for him to speak, but he told me, he's like, oh, the lady said she'll take the cart. That's the only reason why I didn't do it. As we get in the car, I'm telling him, I'm like, son, do you know why this is important? And he's like, well, 1, it shows that you're not lazy. 2, it's easier for the employees. And 3, it just makes the parking lot and cars safer, keeping from getting dented and dinged. And it's just something that we should do. And he's like, I do it all the time when I'm not with you. And that was like a proud father moment. I'm like, I appreciate that, because I know his mom, my ex-wife, she doesn't do it. So he's going against the grain with that. And that's important for him to become a young man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it trickles out. It trickles out into your life. That shopping cart, not putting it back. You are, there's a famous book I love, Leadership and Self-Deception. In Leadership and Self-Deception, the whole book is built around betraying yourself. And so the shopping cart, you're betraying yourself, because you know what the right thing to do is. And so when you betray yourself, when you decide not to put the shopping cart back, now you have to justify why you didn't. And justifying why you didn't means you have to blame other people, right? Oh, it's that person's job. Oh, they're supposed to do that. Oh, nobody else does it. Whatever. There's a million different reasons you could throw out there, but you create a ripple effect from that of negativity. So it's so powerful. I'm glad we touched on that. Let's end the episode on that, man, because it's like a small, super tiny microcosm of like so many other things in your life. And if you look at stuff like that, simple little things like that, am I moving forward? Am I falling backward? And you start to realize there's no gray areas in life. There's forward or backward, and you can only drift for so long before you start to fall backward, man. So powerful stuff. Coach Rob Wheeler, I want to invite people to go to your website, battlefittedbrand.com. What can they expect? What do you want them to do when they go there?
Well, I mean, you can do a variety of things. You can go to my landing page and get a free resource called the 7-Day Reset. It's just a quick, basic journal to kind of get you thinking about how your mindset works and shifting perspectives. Absolutely free, no catch. You can book a consult call with me. My consult calls are also free to see if I'm a good fit for coaching. You can buy the BattleFitted brand merch, which I'm not wearing today. And you can find the link to the Battle Harder podcast, which is just an extension of the BattleFitted brand. It's where I tell stories of real people overcoming adversity. It helps you, it's therapy for me. It helps you show that your life's really not that bad. And then I also have professionals on there like neuroscientists, emotional eating coaches, fitness professionals, because at the end of the day, if you stumble across my site and you resonate with one of the episodes, I want you to be able to reach out to that person and get the help that you need.
Amazing. Battlefittedbrand.com. Check it out. This has been an incredible episode with Coach Rob Wheeler. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you.
Another true testimony of breakthrough. Until next time, and this is the Unstuck Movement.